What's good, YouTube? This is the Real Boxing Channel. We're going to be covering the notable fights happening on January 31st, 2026. First up, we're going to have Bakram versus Josh Kelly. So, some background on Bakram. He's being called the boogeyman at 154, but I like to call him the Grinch. Because look at how psycho this dude looks. I mean, this dude looks like a freak. He had a great statement win over Tim Tszyu 14 months ago where he went out there and straight up destroyed him in violent fashion. Really, the only questionable fight I have from Bakram is the Coquette fight. And it was reported that he was fasting the entire time leading up to the fight, which caused him to look a little drained, but he still came out with a KO in the end. If that doesn't scream hunger, I don't know what does. Bakram's got very good power in both hands, walks down every fighter I've ever seen him fight well. Got a decent jab, crazy good accuracy, throws every punch with mean intent, and sets his shots up well. I think this dude's got brick hands, to be honest with you. Looks to have a very good chin, even though I don't think it's been tested that much. Doesn't move all that much, doesn't have the best footwork by any means, but he's one of those fighters where I don't think he necessarily has to, because all of his other tools make up for it. But to me, if you can take punches while you're fasting, it shows that you have insane grit and you can hold your own well when getting hit with shots. Looking at Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly's got a good jab. I think he moves pretty well, tends to fight pretty loose. Most of the time looks to be a pretty decent athlete. I think he has the ability to keep Bakram off of him early in the fight, maybe for the first few rounds, maybe 2 to 3 rounds, by fighting off the back foot. But here's the thing with Josh Kelly. I hear all these people talking about how well he slips shots and everything like that, but I don't really see that. I think Josh Kelly's gas tank is not very good, and I think that in the middle rounds he's going to be there to be hit. You look in the Avanesian fight. Avanesian gave him all he could handle, and then he just eventually ran out of gas. Took a lot of shots in that fight, and I think he's just running into a harder puzzle for him to solve in this instance. I think in this fight that Kelly gets on the bike early, and I think Bakram knows this. I think Bakram looks to establish early, trying to walk him down like he always does, make his power known early, and wear Kelly down in the middle rounds. One thing I also forgot to add, shout out to my boy Guru for this look. He's in the 3D Boxing Discord. Josh Kelly appears to have some scar tissue from his previous fight with Ishmael Davis. So I think this could open up a cut and a bad spot on his eye. This fight to me is interesting because of what's at stake here for Bakram. He has the opportunity to really silence any doubters that he's going to be a problem at 154. Kelly is going to have to make zero mistakes and show that he does indeed have a gas tank in this fight, because Bakram is going to be stalking him all night, and I just don't think he's got the gas tank to keep him off of him. I'm predicting a 6th to 7th round knockout for Bakram. Next up, we got Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baraou. Probably pronouncing that wrong, sorry. For Xander Zayas, I think he's an all-around guy. Does everything pretty well. He's pretty explosive at times, and I really don't have that much negative to say about Xander Zayas at the moment. I don't think we've seen that many negative things about him up to this point. Especially in this fight, and I'll explain why. If you look at his fight with Spomer, to me, Baraou just does everything a little bit better than Spomer. He's pretty explosive, tough guy, moves all right, decent athlete. I think he does have the ability to catch Xander maybe one time in this fight. It's just I'm playing in my head, and Xander has been so defensively responsible in the past. I don't really know how many risks he takes in this fight, that being Xander. I think he can give Baraou a tough night, just sitting on the outside, making him eat punches. And to me, it's really how Xander wants this fight to go, because I think he can dictate this fight in any direction that he wants. If he wants to get him out, I think he can. If he wants to dominate for the entire fight and go to the cards, I think he can. I think more than anything in this, I'm looking at the toughness of Baraou and also the mindset of Xander going into this fight. What does he want to prove? I think that the KO prop has good odds and a plus 475, so that's something I think that would be a decent risk, but good payout. I'll probably throw something small on it. I think your money line bet is safe with Xander, whatever direction he wants to take this fight. I think he's in full control, and we'll just have to see if he wants to try and end it early. Next, we got Keyshawn Davis versus Jermaine Ortiz. For Jermaine Ortiz, defensively responsible, very good footwork and ring IQ. He's just a technician like his nickname states. Not a lot of power, good jab. One factor that could come into play, and I think is a little bit of a concern, is I saw a photo from an interview that Jermaine Ortiz did a few days before the weigh-in, and he looked extremely drained. Like, I was shocked when I saw the photo of him from that interview. And to beat a fighter like Keyshawn Davis, I think you have to have all of your ducks in a row. That being said, I think Jermaine has IQ to win this fight, but he's going to have a stellar performance to beat Keyshawn Davis. For Keyshawn Davis, great athlete, great jab, great power, defensively responsible, takes shots well, footwork's good, smart fighter all around. He throws some crazy punches from angles that I don't think you see from most any fighter. I think that what a lot of people are seeing leading up to this fight, and maybe why they're going with Jermaine Ortiz, is the stuff that Keyshawn has been dealing with mentally outside of the ring. He's had some speed bumps in the last year, all outside of the ring, and I think that's where people have been questioning him. But when you go back and look at it, Keyshawn Davis, his last two fights have just been performances that blow you away. I had doubts how he would handle Lemos, and he goes out there and he makes him look like a bum. I had doubts, small doubts, about Baranchek, about how he would handle that, and he went out there and he put belt to ass. I think in this fight that people are looking at Jermaine Ortiz's past fights a little too much and who he's fought. He's had some close fights too, like the Tio fight. Like, don't get me wrong. He's had some good performances. And something I will say good about him too, Jermaine's been pretty active last year. He's had 3 fights. I just think at the end of the day, Keyshawn Davis is going to be too much for him to handle, as long as Keyshawn Davis took this fight camp seriously, and he's all there. I think that he can put on a great performance in this fight, but there are some avenues for Ortiz. To win this fight, Ortiz, like I said, he can be very tricky and difficult at times, and it's very possible he could frustrate Keyshawn Davis from the outside. But at the end of the day, I think Keyshawn Davis has always found a way to get it done and do so in pretty good fashion. There is a stoppage. I like it late. Either way, I feel like it's either a late stoppage or a convincing decision from Keyshawn Davis. Lastly, probably why you clicked on this video, the Tio and Shakur fight. For Teofimo Lopez, I think his career has kind of been a roller coaster of performances. Most nights you don't know what Tio you're going to get, and that's a scary thing going into this fight. If you get a performance like he had against Arnold Barboza, I like his chances a lot, very much in this fight. But if he goes in with a horrible game plan like he did with George Kambosos, he's going to lose. I think from what reports said, he also had a cracked rib in that fight, but that doesn't matter to me as much as the game plan was absolutely horrible in that fight. Tio's a very good athlete, very smart fighter. Most of the time does everything well. Gets hit a little too much in some fights that I've seen him, and for my liking. Footwork's pretty good. Can be a little inactive at times. I think his power's okay. I'm not going to say it's devastating by any means because he hasn't had a knockout in a few years, but I think it's enough to keep you at bay. I realize that you probably shouldn't do this, but this is just some thought on my end. If you take away the George Kambosos loss, I think a lot of people would have a different tune about this fight, and it being closer than what the odds are saying. In my opinion, this is a pretty down-the-middle 50-50 fight. I know Tio's had performances in the past where he didn't look very good, or he got some close nods, like the Jermaine Ortiz fight or in the Sandor Martin fight. But I'm going to this expecting a fully ready and ready to fight Teofimo Lopez. I am a firm believer that if Teofimo Lopez is not on his A game, he will lose this fight. Next, we got Shakur Stevenson. Very good defensive fighter, top tier. Lots of things to like in Shakur. Smart, ring IQ is very high. Good hand speed, distance management is good. Precise counterpunching. The weaknesses I have for him, I think, are no knocks. Low activity, below average power in my opinion. Resume is not my favorite by any means. Also, we haven't really gotten to see Shakur being forced to adapt under pressure and adversity. That also being a credit to how well he does his style. Also to add, Shakur doesn't sit down on his shots very well because he's already in the process of moving while throwing them before the punch even lands. For my avenues to win, I do think there are more ways for Shakur to win this fight. But for Tio, I'm going to break down how I think he has the ability to win. I think for Tio in this fight, he's got to keep hammering the body with jabs, keep it on the outside, don't get hit by counters, making Shakur throw the first punch and capitalizing anytime Shakur makes a mistake. A tall task, but not one out of the question. That being said, Tio can't make mistakes in this fight either and be open to counters. If he can take early rounds, it's going to force Shakur to become the aggressor. The most important rounds of the fight to me are the first 4 rounds. If he can fight this way for the first 4 rounds, I think he can take this fight. A even bigger key in this fight for me, for Tio in my opinion, is attacking the backside of Shakur's shell. Shakur has had his spots where he lets his feet get stationary when he's willing to exchange. In those instances, Tio has to jump on that with calculated pressure, not just pressure like Zepeda did, but calculated pressure, and place shots anywhere he can on the backside of the shell. If you remember, Tio said he would do some unethical but legal things in this fight. And this is what I think he's referring to. By hitting the backside of the shell, hitting the ribs, and more specifically the upper back, which it can be legal if it's not egregious. He needs to establish the outside foot position on Shakur and immediately target those key shots, mixing up his shots with his lead hand by blending jabs and hooks to the backside of the shell. He must also take away the lead hand of Shakur, as he will be actively throwing it. Tio has to catch the lead hand shots coming in and keep him honest by throwing shots from angles where Shakur will be circling away. Tio has to stay active, pick his shots, get out, and reset while mixing things up without getting away from the main objective. I believe this is the path to victory for Tio, other than if you think he can mirror Shakur like De Los Santos did for the first part of the fight for the entire 12 rounds and outland him, which I don't think is the best option here. My official prediction for this fight is Tio by close decision or a draw. For my lock of the week, I think this bet is pretty safe, but I'm going to go Bakram, Keyshawn, and Xander to win, and that's going to give you a minus 127. For my real ballsy parlay of the week, I'm going to go Keyshawn Davis by KO, Bakram to win, Tio to win, and Xander Zayas by KO, which will give you a plus 5,255. So if you want to throw something small in this, you may be able to make some good money on this if it happens. I also want to shout out Fout's Boxing Theory. I watched a lot of his content when I was doing film breakdown for the Tio and Shakur fight. And I just want to say, if you want some of the best film breakdown that you can get on YouTube, Fout's Boxing Theory is the guy. I'll link his channel below. As always, I'm going to put the channels that I really like to watch up on screen and in the description. These guys are going to give you some good gambling picks and also some of the best boxing breakdowns on YouTube. That being said, thanks for tuning in to the Real Boxing channel. Always gamble responsibly, and always remember to keep it real. God bless.